David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, new details just coming in on the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What happened when the shots rang out, and the writings authorities say they discovered in the suspect's hotel room. Shocking video appears to show the gunman racing past Secret Service agents, gunshots as guests posed on the red carpet. Inside the ballroom, agents wrapping themselves around President Trump, hustling him off the dais. The night's featured entertainer tells us what he saw when he came face to face with the president as they hit the floor. Chaos and confusion as uniformed officers are seen pointing long guns toward the crowd. The suspect quickly taken down. One Secret Service agent shot, a bulletproof vest stopping the round. What we're learning about the 31-year-old suspect, a teacher and computer programmer who authorities say traveled by train across the country to D.C. The notes they say he left in his hotel room allegedly show he disliked the president and his administration and called himself a friendly federal assassin. FBI agents swarming his home in a late-night raid. New questions about security. How did someone get weapons into that hotel, especially after 2 prior attempts on Mr. Trump's life? And new safety concerns as the King and Queen of England prepare to visit the U.S. Are they still planning to come? Our team is following every angle. Also tonight, powerful storms on the move. 30 million Americans on alert over the next 24 hours. A devastating tornado in Texas, at least 1 death reported. Drivers forced to climb out of flooded cars. Plus the wildfires tearing through the South, one doubling in size overnight. A small plane crashes in a ball of flames, killing 2, including a North Dakota lawmaker. And the marathon runner who did something no human had ever done.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin with that shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. White House officials say they believe the gunman may have been targeting Trump administration officials. Once gunfire erupted, Secret Service agents swarmed President Trump and quickly rushed him off the stage. The chaos and confusion as uniformed officers were seen pointing their guns toward the crowd. Many in attendance ducked for cover, hiding under tables as others raced out of the dinner. The dramatic images of the suspect, identified as 31-year-old Cole Allen, pinned to the ground. Authorities say he was armed with guns and knives and traveled across the country by train from California. Overnight, the FBI swarmed his home in Torrance. Sources say he referred to himself in writing as the, quote, friendly federal assassin. We have team coverage tonight. ABC's chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl leads us off.
Tonight, the full chaos that unfolded at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is coming into sharper view. The moment federal agents rushed through the crowd of 2,600 of the nation's most powerful government officials and the journalists who cover them, bounding onto the stage and whisking President Trump to safety. The night had been on schedule. Presentation of the colors, the crowd rising for the national anthem, the president and the first lady on the dais. Then, just outside the ballroom, security cameras capturing this scene, a gunman charging past the security checkpoint, the video later posted by the president. CNN's Wolf Blitzer just feet away.
When the cops saw me only a few feet away from the shooter, they threw me to the ground and got on top of me to protect me. And I think I heard at least 3, maybe 6 gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. And it was just enormously loud. I had no idea what was going on.
Moments later, chaos in the ballroom. The Secret Service rushed to the front of this room in a way that I have never seen, knocking over little barricades that were here, crashes as they came down. Agents heading straight for the president. He was talking with Oz Perlman, the mentalist, the evening's entertainer. So you were right there as this happened. What was going through your mind?
I was literally performing for the president, for the first lady, and for the press secretary.
First Lady Melania Trump, visibly shocked, mouthing the words, "What happened?" as the Secret Service stormed the stage. Vice President J.D. Vance pulled out of his chair, an agent throwing himself toward the president.
I'm watching up, and I watch the 2 Secret Service guys get behind the president, bring him down. In my head I go, oh no, are we about to die? That was my first thought. And then split second later, I'm looking at him, and I can't gauge from him what happened to him.
Yeah.
Because
So you thought he was shot?
so I didn't know if he was shot, but I did not rule it out.
ABC's Karen Travers was on the dais, sitting next to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
She told me, get down. We fell from our seats to the floor, and just a few feet away from me, the president was underneath Secret Service agents.
As the president was hurried backstage, in the room, chaos. The crowd dropping to the ground, hiding under tables. The cabinet secretaries taken away by their own security details. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And soon we learned law enforcement had subdued a suspect, 31-year-old Cole Allen, seen here on the ground of the hotel. Authorities say he was armed with knives and 2 guns, including a shotgun. He is a teacher from Torrance, California. Officials say he took a train to Washington and checked into the hotel. And tonight, sources tell us he allegedly sent his family a message just before the attack, describing himself as a friendly federal assassin. Many of the reporters in the audience heading to the White House in their gowns and tuxedos to cover the story. President Trump showing the nation he was not hurt.
We very much wanted to continue it because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people change the fabric of our life.
President Trump called me early this morning praising how quickly the Secret Service jumped into action. One Secret Service officer was shot directly in the chest by the gunman, saved by his body armor. This evening, the White House tells me that Secret Service officer is, quote, totally fine. Lindsay?
Glad to hear it, John. Thank you. Now, what we're learning tonight about the suspect, a teacher and computer programmer. The alleged gunman was captured on surveillance video sprinting toward a Secret Service checkpoint. The writings the Caltech grad allegedly left behind in his hotel room. Here's ABC's Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, we're learning more about the man investigators believe opened fire near that ballroom with the president inside. Authorities say this is Cole Allen, seen here lying on the ground shirtless. They believe Allen is the heavily armed suspect racing past security before the Secret Service took him down.
He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives.
And law enforcement sources say they're learning more disturbing new details about the suspect's alleged motive and willingness to kill as many people as possible to get to his intended targets, Trump administration officials.
It is clear, based upon what we know so far, that this individual was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could.
Sources describing a message Cole Allen allegedly sent to his family before the attack. The message describes grievances against Trump administration officials, expressing a willingness to kill from the highest ranking to the lowest, including any Secret Service members that got in his way. The alleged message ends with a critique of hotel security and how his plan to check into the hotel allowed him to have weapons in the building without anyone knowing. And sources say it included a reference to himself as Cole, friendly federal assassin Allen. The FBI and Secret Service launching a nationwide investigation. Within hours, FBI agents and a SWAT team was at the Allen family home in Torrance, California.
We believe that he traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then Chicago to Washington, D.C.
Allen got an engineering degree from Caltech in 2017 and went on to get a master's from Cal State last year. This interview appears to be the suspect in college showing an emergency brake he built for a wheelchair.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
More recently, Allen has been working as a tutor, even once winning an award for Teacher of the Month. Allen is expected to face gun charges, including assaulting a federal officer with a deadly weapon. He's set to make his first court appearance tomorrow. Lindsay?
Pierre, thank you. The shooting is, of course, raising questions about security surrounding the president and other public officials. The Secret Service jumped into action, stopping the gunman, but it was a dangerous reminder of violence in this political environment. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
When a man charged the Secret Service checkpoint, it exposed a security vulnerability that law enforcement officials have long feared. Authorities say the suspect booked a room at the Washington Hilton, giving him access to an otherwise secure hotel with unchecked baggage. That's what happened in 2017 when a gunman loaded bags full of weapons into Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas and committed the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history.
Being a hotel allowed people to enter the location without their bags being searched and without being vetted. So these are the types of locations that are really challenging for law enforcement to secure.
The Secret Service is crediting the strength of our layered security posture for stopping the gunman before he entered the ballroom.
The system worked. The Secret Service kept us safe, and that man was quickly apprehended and subdued seconds after he tried to breach the perimeter.
Still, it was a vivid reminder of the violent threats coursing through the country. President Trump has already been a target. A gunman targeted him in Butler, Pennsylvania. An armed man was arrested outside one of his golf courses, and in February, an armed man drove through the security perimeter at Trump's Palm Beach resort. June will mark 1 year since the Speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband were killed in a politically motivated shooting, and a year ago this month, an arsonist firebombed the Pennsylvania governor's residence. There are calls tonight, Lindsay, for a national reckoning to deal with the crisis of political violence, and there are security questions for high-profile events like tomorrow's visit from King Charles, the World Cup, and then in July, Lindsay, America's 250th birthday.
And, of course, the president's desire to host this dinner again within the next 30 days.
He says he wants to do it, and he says we should do it.
Aaron, thank you. And as Aaron mentioned, security is looming large as King Charles and the Queen head to the White House tomorrow. Let's bring in ABC's chief international correspondent, James Longman. James, what's the latest on this trip?
Hi, Lindsay. Well, the palace issued a statement saying the king was greatly relieved that the president, the first lady, and all those guests were unharmed, and that after discussions on both sides of the Atlantic, it was decided that the trip will still go ahead. This is intended to celebrate 250 years of American independence. The King and Queen are due to arrive here in D.C. tomorrow for an informal tea at the White House. On Tuesday, that is the main event. The King will address both houses of Congress, and then there'll be a state dinner at the White House hosted by Donald Trump. Charles and Camilla will go to New York, where they'll visit the 9/11 memorial. Diplomatic relations between Britain and the United States have been strained over the war in Iran. It was hoped Charles would help calm those problems. Now it will feel like a timely visit from a close ally during a troubled moment. Lindsay?
Seems that way, James. Thank you. Now more than 30 million Americans are bracing for severe weather from the Midwest to the plains. The deadly storms have already left a trail of destruction across the plains, some narrowly escaping floodwaters near Fort Worth, Texas. ABC's Ika Jaji is in the storm zone tonight.
Tonight, a deadly outbreak of severe storms leaving a trail of destruction in the south as a massive wildfire rages out of control on the East Coast. One person is dead and 6 injured in Wise County, Texas, after an EF2 tornado touched down, ripping the roofs off these homes, piles of debris, and wreckage throughout the area. Here in Runaway Bay, Texas, that EF2 tornado caused widespread damage all over the county, leaving unprecedented damage. Local authorities issuing a disaster declaration as families look to begin rebuilding.
Wise County takes care of Wise County, and we are going to stand strong, and we're going to stand together.
And in Georgia, firefighters there combating several large wildfires. This one in Brantley County doubling in size overnight. Fanned by powerful winds and dry conditions, now burning over 20,000 acres, forcing evacuations.
I can tell you we lost a lot of homes last night and yesterday.
Only 7% contained. Officials there say the fires are expected to grow.
We're expecting this fire to get bigger, and we're ordering more resources in.
Back in Texas, that system bringing hail, flooding, and powerful winds overnight. This woman escaping a car seemingly being carried away by floodwaters. The storm system bringing 40 reported tornadoes in the last couple days. Lindsay, the county judge told me that these roads back here won't reopen for another 2 to 3 days. However, the recovery effort is still ongoing. Lindsay?
Ike, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. Good evening, Danny. More severe weather on the way this week?
Hi, Lindsay. Yeah, even tonight we're seeing strong storms develop. So I want to get you right to the radar to see those strong to severe thunderstorms developing over Kansas and Missouri tonight, prompting a severe thunderstorm watch with flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts. Also a tornado watch from Texas to Missouri until 11 p.m. This system slides east tomorrow, a line of strong storms developing right in time for the evening rush Monday. The bullseye over major cities like St. Louis and Chicago, running the risk for destructive wind, very large hail and strong tornadoes through late tomorrow night. tonight. This system still has some punch Tuesday as it swings a severe threat through the south. We'll be watching a stretch from Dallas to Louisville with damaging wind and large hail. If there's one benefit to these dangerous storms, it's the opportunity for much needed rain in the parched southeast. Not enough to alleviate the drought, but it will make a dent in the deficit. Lindsay?
All right, at least there's that. Danny, thank you. Now to those stalled talks between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump is ruling out any travel to Pakistan for peace negotiations. Let's bring in ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Selena, what does this mean for a possible deal?
Well, Lindsay, this is the latest sign that the U.S. and Iran remain far apart on a deal to reach an end to this war. The president abruptly canceling his top negotiator's planned trip to Pakistan this weekend and is now ruling out any in-person talks in the near future. President Trump is now claiming that Iran can call on secure telephone lines if they want to talk. But Iran has made it clear that they won't negotiate until the U.S. ends its blockade of Iranian ports. And the president says that blockade won't end until there's a deal. So tonight, there's no clear path for when or if those talks resume. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and here at home, gas prices are now averaging about $4 a gallon, up more than $1 since the war began, Lindsay.
Still a standstill. Selena, thank you. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight. This Sunday, the deadly plane crash that took 2 lives, including a state lawmaker, and the marathon man who ran his way right into the history books. Next tonight, authorities have identified the Chicago police officer who was shot and killed inside a hospital on Saturday. Officer John Bartholomew was 38 and a 10-year veteran of the force. A second officer was also shot and is reportedly in critical condition. Police say the suspect, who was brought to the hospital in custody, fled the scene but was later arrested. Police are investigating how he may have obtained a gun. A state lawmaker from North Dakota was one of 2 people killed in a plane crash in Minnesota. The single-engine plane went down and erupted in flames just after takeoff Saturday near Minneapolis. North Dakota State Representative Liz Conmey was killed. The second victim has not yet been identified. Federal authorities are investigating just what caused the crash. In Florida, the search continues for a missing student 2 days after the body of a second missing student was found. A suspect is now under arrest. Nahida Bristi was last seen 10 days ago. She's a graduate student at the University of South Florida. The remains of that second student, Zamil Limon, were found Friday. His roommate faces multiple charges, including 2 counts of premeditated murder. When we come back, how a hunting expedition turned deadly for a big game hunter. To the index now, a big game hunter from California was killed, apparently by an elephant in Central Africa. Ernie Docia was 75 years old and hunted with groups that include wagon hound outfitters. Friends say Docia was part of a group tracking antelopes when they stumbled upon a herd of elephants protecting their young, and he was gored to death. And history was made on the streets of London today. Sebastian Sawe of Kenya became the first to officially break the 2-hour mark. He covered the 26 miles in a blistering 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds. The second-place finisher also broke 2 hours. Sawe gave credit to the crowds that packed the streets for helping to carry him to the record. When we come back, America Strong, something special is on the other side of this door. Finally tonight, America Strong, a promposal with the royal treatment.
Even better than a corsage, prom season kicked off with kindness in Salt Lake City. It started with a knock. And then, mounted on a hobby horse, a message unfurled like a fairy tale.
Queen Jane, Your Majesty.
An invitation fit for the royal ball. A promposal with a touch of magic. A crown gently placed. And a prince, Carter, waiting nearby on a pony. Not just dressed for the moment, but rising to meet it. With their best smiles and something even rarer, intention. 17-year-old Jane Adamson was born with Down syndrome. At school, they call her Queen Jane. Her dress is still undecided, but it will no doubt be twirling on the dance floor.
Dance off.
Her mother, Summer, overwhelmed by the moment.
What's the evening, Queen?
The amount of effort and time that they put in to make this so special for Jane, it just blew me away and honestly brought me to tears.
The video has spread far beyond their neighborhood. A reminder of what it looks like to truly see someone, to reach beyond the familiar and make room at the table, or in this case, on the dance floor.
To think of others, to reach outside their friend group and to those who maybe don't always get asked or have a chance, and to invite them because it means the world.
A simple invitation that means so much.
I thought I was loving them. Just for moments.
So touching. Thanks so much for watching. David, back here tomorrow. I'm Lindsay Davis. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.